The rain had returned to the old forest. Beyond the windows of the wandering inn, the ancient pines swayed gently beneath the evening wind, while soft raindrops traced quiet paths across the glass. Inside, the comforting crackle of the fireplace filled the room with warmth, blending with the scent of burning cedar and freshly brewed ghee. Everything felt familiar. The worn wooden floor beneath your feet, the weathered oak table before you, the shelves lined with journals collected from countless journeys, and the gentle silence that always seemed to welcome every traveler who found their way here. Without a word, the innkeeper approached. As always, his movements were calm and unhurried, as though he believed every story deserved to begin at its own gentle pace. He placed another piece of cedar into the fire, watched the flames rise for a quiet moment, then turned toward the oldest bookshelf in the inn. His fingers slowly wandered across rows of faded leather journals, each one carrying memories gathered from distant kingdoms, forgotten villages, and travelers whose names had long since faded into time. After a long pause, he carefully lifted a journal unlike the others. Its brown leather cover had softened with age, and a faded crimson ribbon rested between its pages. As he carried it back toward the table, several old envelopes slipped quietly onto the wood. Their paper had yellowed with time. Their wax seals had begun to crack. The innkeeper gently gathered them together. Yet one envelope remained underneath the lantern's warm glow, just long enough for you to notice something unusual. There was no name, no village, no kingdom, only a single destination written in elegant handwriting. Yesterday. The innkeeper smiled softly, almost as though he had expected you to notice. He carefully returned the envelopes to the journal and slowly opened its weathered pages. The quiet scent of old paper drifted into the warm evening air. For a few peaceful moments, neither of you spoke. Only the rain and the fire filled the silence. Then, with the warmth of an old friend sharing another forgotten tale, the innkeeper began to read. Tonight's journal tells the story of a little post office hidden deep within an ancient forest, a place where every letter carried the same destination: yesterday. Deep within an ancient forest, where towering pines whispered through every passing season, there stood a narrow cobblestone road that few people ever noticed. Most travelers believed it simply disappeared among the trees. Some thought it led to the ruins of a forgotten village. Others never saw it at all. Yet those who carried a quiet gratitude within their hearts sometimes found themselves standing before a small wooden building hidden beneath the shelter of ancient branches. It was neither grand nor remarkable. Warm lanterns glowed beside weathered windows. Soft smoke drifted from a crooked chimney into the cool evening sky. Beside the entrance stood an old red mailbox whose faded paint had weathered countless autumns. Above the heavy oak door hung a simple wooden sign: the last post office. No map had ever marked its location. No kingdom claimed it, and no one could remember exactly how they had found it. They only remembered arriving. Inside, the little post office felt untouched by time. Tall wooden shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, filled with thousands of carefully arranged envelopes. Some looked as though they had waited for centuries. Others still carried the scent of fresh ink. Each envelope had been sealed with deep crimson wax. Each had been folded with extraordinary care, and every single one carried the very same destination. Not a kingdom, not a village, not even a person's name. Only one quiet word: yesterday. Behind the old wooden counter stood the keeper of the little post office. He was an elderly postman whose name had long been forgotten. His weathered brown coat had faded beneath countless seasons, while a worn leather satchel rested faithfully beside his desk. There was a quiet kindness in his eyes, as though he had spent an entire lifetime listening to stories that people could never bring themselves to say aloud. Every evening before the first visitor arrived, he would gently dust the shelves, straighten every envelope, and light the warm lantern beside the window. Then he would wait, patiently, as though he already knew that sooner or later someone would come searching for yesterday. As the evening grew darker, the little bell above the oak door rang softly. The first visitor stepped inside. She was an elderly woman wrapped in a rain-soaked wool cloak, holding a small envelope with both hands, as though it was something precious. The old postman greeted her with a gentle smile. He did not ask her name. He did not ask where she had come from. He simply invited her to warm herself beside the fire while the rain continued to whisper outside. After a quiet moment, the woman placed her envelope upon the wooden counter. The postman accepted it with both hands, treating it with the same care one might offer a treasured memory. He reached for an old brass stamp resting beside a pool of melted crimson wax. With one gentle motion, he pressed the seal upon the envelope. The woman bowed her head in silent gratitude. No more words were exchanged. She quietly turned toward the door and disappeared into the rain, carrying a lighter heart than the one she had brought with her. Only then did the old postman carefully place the letter inside his weathered leather mailbag, where it rested beside countless others, all patiently waiting for the journey to yesterday. Night after night, more visitors found their way to the little post office. A young carpenter carrying a folded piece of parchment, a sailor whose face had been shaped by years of wind and restless seas, a teacher, a musician, a quiet child who held a tiny envelope with both hands. Each arrived carrying a different story, yet every letter seemed strangely alike. No one asked for another chance. No one wished to change the past. No one begged for yesterday to become different. Instead, each visitor carefully folded a single sheet of paper and sealed it with quiet hands. The old postman accepted every envelope with the same gentle smile. He never asked who the letter was written for. He never asked what had happened. He never asked why those words had waited so many years to be written. He simply placed each envelope inside the weathered leather mailbag beside his desk. When the final visitor had gone and silence returned once more, the little post office felt lighter somehow, as though every letter had quietly carried away a burden that had been held for far too long. One quiet evening, after the last visitor had left, a young traveler stepped through the old wooden door. He carried no envelope, only curiosity. For a long moment he stood before the towering shelves, studying the countless letters that rested in perfect silence. At last he turned toward the old postman. "Do all of these letters truly go to yesterday?" The old postman looked up from his desk and smiled. "They do." The traveler hesitated before asking another question. "And do they ever arrive?" The old man remained silent for a moment, listening to the gentle rain outside. Then he answered with the calm certainty of someone who had repeated those words many times before. "I believe they do, but not in the way most people imagine." The traveler frowned slightly. If yesterday cannot be changed, then why do people keep writing? The old postman gently rested one hand upon the weathered leather mailbag. Because they are not trying to change yesterday, they are simply trying to thank it. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. Only the quiet fire continued to crackle, while the rain softly whispered beyond the windows. The old postman slowly opened one of the wooden drawers beneath his desk. From inside, he carefully lifted a single sheet of fresh parchment and placed it before the young traveler. Beside it, he set down an old fountain pen and a small bottle of deep blue ink. If you wished to write a letter, this is where every journey begins. The traveler looked at the blank page for a long moment. What should I write? Instead of answering, the old postman pointed toward a weathered wooden plaque hanging quietly beside the shelves. Only a few words had been carved into the old oak. Every letter may contain only 2 words. The traveler looked back in surprise. "Only 2?" The old postman nodded gently. "Only 2." The traveler smiled uncertainly. "But I have so much more to say." A quiet laugh escaped the old man's lips. So does everyone who walks through that door. He carefully folded the blank parchment once again. That is why this place exists, not to help people find more words, but to help them discover the only words that truly matter. The traveler looked once more at the blank sheet of parchment. 2 words, nothing more, nothing less. For a long while the room remained silent. The old postman made no attempt to hurry the moment. Instead, he quietly polished the old brass stamp resting upon his desk, while the fire crackled gently beside them. At last, the traveler asked softly, "What if 2 words are not enough?" The old postman smiled. "They rarely feel like enough." He looked toward the countless envelopes resting upon the shelves. People often arrive believing they need a page, or an entire book, to say what has remained inside their hearts for years. He paused before continuing. But gratitude is different. It asks for nothing, it explains nothing, it expects nothing in return. The traveler lowered his eyes to the empty parchment once again. For the first time, the page no longer felt empty. It felt patient, as though it had been waiting quietly all along for 2 simple words that had taken an entire lifetime to discover. The old postman gently picked up an envelope from the highest shelf. Its paper had become soft with age, and the crimson wax seal had faded with countless seasons. He held it carefully, almost as though he were holding someone's treasured memory. "This was the very first letter ever left here," he said quietly. The traveler looked at the weathered envelope with quiet curiosity. Was it ever opened? The old postman slowly shook his head. It was never meant to be. He turned the envelope just enough for the handwriting to catch the warm lantern light. There was no name, only one destination. Yesterday. And what did it say? For a brief moment, the old postman remained silent. Then a gentle smile appeared. It said exactly what every letter here says. He carefully placed the envelope back upon the shelf. Nothing more, nothing less. Only two simple words. Thank you. The traveler looked around the little post office once again. Thousands of envelopes, thousands of different lives. Yet somehow, they all carried the very same message. And in that quiet moment, the little post office no longer felt like a place where letters were delivered. It felt like a place where hearts finally found peace. The traveler remained beside the old wooden counter, watching the lantern light dance gently across the countless envelopes. After a long silence, another question quietly found its way into the room. Has anyone ever tried to write more than those two words? The old postman smiled knowingly. Many have. He walked toward a small cabinet tucked beneath the staircase and opened its weathered wooden door. Inside rested dozens of unfinished letters. Some were filled with long apologies. Some carried pages of regret. Others told stories of promises never kept. The old man gently brushed his fingers across them. None of these were ever sent. The traveler looked at him with quiet surprise. Why? Because they were waiting for the perfect words. He closed the cabinet softly. But gratitude does not wait for perfection. It only waits for honesty. The room fell silent once again. Outside, the rain had begun to ease. A single drop slipped from the roof onto the old stone path below. The old postman looked toward the window and smiled. Sometimes the shortest letter carries the longest journey. And somehow those simple words lingered in the warm little post office long after they had been spoken. One evening, as the last light of dusk disappeared behind the towering pines, the traveler noticed something unusual. The old postman had stopped working. He stood quietly before the weathered red mailbox outside the little post office. His eyes rested upon it with a gentle familiarity, as though greeting an old companion. "You've been looking at that mailbox for a long time," the traveler said. The old postman smiled without turning around. "I have. Does someone still send letters here?" The old man nodded softly. "Every evening. And every morning? The mailbox is empty." The traveler stepped closer. "Who collects them?" The old postman remained silent for a moment. Then he answered with quiet certainty, "I've never seen who comes. I've only learned to trust that every letter reaches exactly where it is meant to go." The traveler looked at the faded red mailbox once more. For the first time, it no longer seemed like an ordinary mailbox. It had become something else. a place where gratitude quietly began its journey, not toward tomorrow, but toward yesterday. As the days quietly passed, the traveler returned to the little post office again and again, not to send a letter, not yet. Instead, there was something peaceful about simply sitting beside the fire, watching the old postman carry out the same gentle routine each evening. Every letter was received with care. Every envelope was sealed with the same brass stamp. Every farewell was met with the same warm smile. One evening, the traveler finally asked, "Have you ever met someone who regretted sending a letter?" The old postman looked thoughtfully at the glowing fire. "Not once." He gently folded another envelope before continuing. "Some people cried, some smiled, some left without saying a single word, but none of them ever wished to take their letter back." The traveler nodded slowly. "Why do you think that is?" The old postman smiled. "Because gratitude is never something we lose. The moment we choose to give it, it quietly becomes part of who we are." Outside, the rain had finally stopped. Moonlight filtered gently through the ancient trees, and for the first time that evening, the little red mailbox stood beneath a sky filled with stars. Late that evening, after the final visitor had disappeared into the quiet forest, the traveler noticed something resting alone upon the old wooden desk. It was a single envelope. Unlike the others, it had never been sealed. The traveler looked toward the old postman. "You haven't sent that one." The old man followed the traveler's gaze and smiled gently. "No. It has been waiting here for many years." The traveler was surprised. "Then why not send it?" The old postman carefully picked up the envelope, turning it slowly between his hands. "I have carried the gratitude of thousands of strangers. I have watched heavy hearts become lighter. I have delivered letters filled with courage." He paused for a long moment. "But somehow, I kept believing there would always be another tomorrow to write my own." The fire crackled softly beside them. Outside, the wind stirred the pine branches once more. The old postman looked quietly at the unsealed envelope. Perhaps the hardest letter to write is the one we owe ourselves to send. And for the first time since entering the little post office, the traveler realized that even the man who had helped so many others find peace was still waiting for the courage to find his own. The traveler said nothing. Some silences were too gentle to interrupt. The old postman slowly unfolded the letter that had rested inside his desk for so many years. Its paper had grown soft with time. Its edges were slightly worn, yet the ink remained as clear as the day it had first touched the page. There were no long sentences, no forgotten memories, no explanations waiting to be read, only two carefully written words: "Thank you." The traveler looked up. Who was it written for? The old postman smiled, though his eyes wandered beyond the rain-speckled window. "It was written to the boy I used to be, the one who believed he would never become enough." He gently folded the letter once more. "I spent many years thanking everyone who crossed my path, my teachers, my friends, the strangers who showed kindness. But somehow, I forgot to thank the person who kept walking through every difficult season until he became the man standing here today." The little post office fell silent once again. Outside, the first light of dawn slowly began to soften the dark forest, and for the first time in many years, the old postman smiled at his own letter, as though he had finally met the person it had always been waiting for. That evening, after the last lantern had been lit, the old postman carried the unsealed envelope outside. The rain had ended. Only tiny drops remained upon the pine branches, glistening beneath the quiet moonlight. He walked slowly toward the weathered red mailbox that had faithfully stood beside the little post office through countless seasons. For a long moment, he simply rested one hand upon its faded wooden frame. The traveler remained a respectful distance away. Some moments belonged only to the heart. The old postman carefully melted a small piece of crimson wax. With practiced hands, he sealed the envelope for the very first time. Then he reached into his coat and removed the old brass stamp that had marked thousands of other letters through the years. He pressed it gently into the warm wax. The seal was complete. Without hesitation, he slipped the envelope through the narrow opening of the mailbox. There was no flash of light, no mysterious wind, no miracle waiting to be seen. Only the quiet sound of the letter disappearing into the darkness below. The old postman closed his eyes and smiled. For the first time in many years, his own gratitude had finally begun its journey to yesterday. The following morning, the little post office looked exactly as it always had. The lantern beside the door still glowed with a warm amber light. The old wooden floor creaked gently beneath familiar footsteps. The shelves remained filled with countless envelopes waiting in perfect order. Nothing appeared different, yet something had quietly changed. The traveler noticed it immediately. The old postman moved with the same gentle patience. He welcomed each visitor with the same kind smile. He carefully accepted every letter, sealed every envelope, and listened without asking unnecessary questions. But there was now a quiet lightness about him that had not been there before, as though a burden carried for many years had finally found a place to rest. The traveler smiled. It wasn't yesterday that changed. The old postman looked up with peaceful eyes. No. He returned another finished letter into the leather mailbag. Yesterday remained exactly where it has always been. He paused, watching the morning sunlight filter gently through the old windows. But the heart that remembered yesterday. Years passed beneath the ancient forest. The little post office remained hidden along the forgotten cobblestone road, waiting patiently for those who needed to find it. Some visitors arrived carrying letters for someone they had lost. Some carried gratitude for someone who had once changed their lives. Others came with no clear memory of what they wanted to write. But every person who left the little post office carried something different. Not a letter, not a promise, not an answer, only a lighter heart. The old postman continued his work as he always had. Every evening he lit the lanterns. Every night he prepared the wooden counter. And every morning he found the red mailbox empty once again. No one knew where the letters went. No one knew who delivered them. Perhaps they truly reached yesterday. Perhaps they simply traveled somewhere deeper, somewhere beyond time, somewhere inside the hearts of those who needed to remember. The old postman never searched for the answer, because after many years of carrying other people's gratitude, he had learned something important. Not every miracle needs to be witnessed. Some miracles are simply felt, like the warmth of a forgotten kindness, like the memory of a gentle voice, like two simple words that arrive exactly when they are needed. Thank you. As the old journal neared its final pages, one last entry had been written in careful, steady handwriting. It did not speak of distant kingdoms. It did not tell of magic hidden beneath the forest. It spoke only of a simple truth. The old postman had come to believe that every life leaves behind unfinished conversations, words we meant to say, kindness we forgot to return, gratitude we assumed would always have another tomorrow. But tomorrow is a promise no one can keep. Yesterday, however, asks for nothing. It waits without anger, without disappointment, without expectation. Perhaps that is why gratitude always knows the way back, not because yesterday can hear our words, but because our hearts finally do. The old postman closed the journal and looked toward the little red mailbox one last time. Its faded paint had weathered countless seasons, yet it continued to stand faithfully beside the old post office, welcoming every letter with the same quiet patience. Somewhere beyond the whispering pines, another traveler would one day find the forgotten road. Another letter would be written. Another grateful heart would become just a little lighter, and the little post office would quietly wait, just as it always had. Long after the little post office had faded into legend, travelers still spoke of a quiet road hidden somewhere beyond the ancient forest. Some believed it had never truly existed. Others searched for it their entire lives and never found it. Yet every so often, someone would return home carrying a peace they could not explain. They never spoke of magic. They never claimed to have changed the past. Instead, they simply smiled whenever yesterday was mentioned. Perhaps they had found the little post office. Perhaps they had written the letter they had carried in silence for far too many years. Or perhaps they had simply discovered that gratitude asks for nothing except an honest heart. Some stories are remembered because they change the world. Others are remembered because they quietly change the person who hears them. And somewhere, deep within the whispering forest, beneath the warm glow of a lantern, and beside a weathered red mailbox, the little post office patiently waited, ready to welcome the next letter, ready to welcome the next grateful heart, ready to remind anyone who arrived that even though yesterday can never be changed, it can always be thanked. The innkeeper gently closed the weathered journal. For a few peaceful moments, neither of you spoke. The fire continued to crackle softly inside the old stone hearth, while gentle rain once again whispered against the windows of the wandering inn. He carefully placed the journal back upon its familiar shelf, where countless other stories rested quietly beside it. Then he returned to the table and poured a little more warm tea into your cup. The comforting aroma slowly filled the room. The innkeeper looked toward the rain beyond the window before speaking, Traveler, if you could send just one letter to yesterday, and you were allowed to write only 2 words. He paused, allowing the quiet warmth of the inn to settle around you. Who would your letter receive? The question lingered gently in the silence. No answer was expected. Some questions were never meant to be spoken aloud. They simply waited patiently inside the heart. The innkeeper smiled with the same quiet kindness that had welcomed you when the evening began. Perhaps one day, you will find your own little post office. Or perhaps you already have. He lifted his teacup in a gentle farewell. Until our paths cross again. Travel safely. And may gratitude always find its way home. Outside, the rain continued to fall through the ancient forest. The fire burned a little lower. The tea remained warm. And somewhere beyond the whispering pines, a weathered red mailbox still waited quietly for the next letter addressed to yesterday.